Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm your host, Jerrika Kelly, my amazing co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are two of the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thanks for listening. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
Good. I have something to share with you that I feel like you're going to be really excited about just because of the type of person that you are. I recently hired a business coach and started in 2 new courses. So
you were so busy.
I know that's a whole other story, but I love continued learning and that feeling of like your brain being on fire when you're learning something new and excited to like piece everything that you've learned together. I'm beside myself with excitement.
That is so cool. How much of your time is this taking? Like, are you really able, is it like a self-paced learning or?
Yeah. So with the business coach, they'll sort of set the pace and I'll have homework, which I love because it'll give me accountability in an area that I'm not really confident in. So I think that's really good. And then with the online course that I'm taking, it's a go at your own pace. I'll have the login forever. So if I need to kind of shelf it for a bit, then that's fine. And like the best part is that I got it for $7 online.
Yes. You know I love a good deal too.
No, totally. Yeah, it's
that's amazing. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. It's just fun. I love continued learning. I love being able to offer clients new and exciting things to help themselves. So I thought you'd be super into that, given that you also love continued learning.
That's so cool. Awesome. Great story. All right. So I've got a topic for you to pick your brain a little bit. For those that are listening and or know Kelly quite well by now, we know that she's the queen of goal setting, right? That's we're gonna coin this term, I think, for Kelly. We're gonna give you the queen status. So we've got 2023 rolling around the corner, and I'm not sure if this might come out probably around this time. So this is a great chance to ask you what you would recommend, maybe your 5 best recommendations when we're considering our goals for 2023, where to start, or just, I mean, you can take that recommendation in any direction you want.
Thank you. I could talk about this all day.
I figured as much.
Yeah, thanks. It gets me so excited to see other people engaged with their own life. And I think, that's the first thing I want to talk about, not as a recommendation, but just simply some people will hear it and be like, oh my God, goal setting. Oh my God. Again, we're talking about this topic and feel pressure. I think a lot of people roll their eyes because they feel the pressure to have goals, to know what they are, to be busy. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about very intentional goal setting, knowing what you want to contribute to in your life, meaningful goals, not just these fillers to say that you're working towards something. It's to really make you feel engaged with your own life. So awesome. I am going to take the list in a couple different directions because I hear the word recommendation and I think my brain goes to like buying products or aids right away. And I actually wanted to talk a bit about that, but mostly about mindset and approaches. So first one that I always ask people is, what do you want to feel? And this is probably coming from the psychology background, but I think it's one of the most effective questions and self-check-ins that you can have. This is a tool that you want to be asking yourself every single day. What do I want to feel? Because as soon as that is clear, it funnels all of your decision-making right down to these easy decisions, right? It limits your choices because you know exactly what you want to feel. All these other options that don't contribute to it are suddenly off the table with the exception of your responsibilities, right?
Right.
So once we're clear on what we know we want to feel, this can open the doors up to all different kinds of very intentional goals, like I mentioned. So on my list of number 1, knowing what you want to feel, this is a tough thing for a lot of people to navigate because we've either been trying to avoid our feelings, deny our feelings, fix our feelings. So approaching that can be very scary. It sounds like a fluff step number 1, and for a lot of people, it's the hardest step. So I would highly recommend the book. It's by Danielle Laporte, and it's called Core Desired Feelings. It's a core concept you're going to want to take with you for the rest of your life. She walks you through very specific steps to figure it out. And it's just a really lovely self-directed process so that you can slow things down as you work through the emotional upheaval that might come up when you're assessing, your feelings potentially for the first time as an adult. So I would start there. If you're more of a business-minded person, I still think it's an excellent book, but I will also offer Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And I'll put links in the description below if people are interested in that. We don't get kickbacks from this. So if you are clicking on the links, we're not getting money. It's tried, tested, and true. That's how you say it. So that's step number one. And then I think the second one that I like to offer people is always start with the end in mind. What result do you want to achieve? And you can take in the SMART goals, right? Be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. That's a good filter to put your goals through. So if your goal that you have meets all of those standards, let's say, look at the end result that you're wanting and then start to break it down from there. Because I think people get the idea of what goal they want to achieve and they kind of leave it there. The goal kind of is dead at that point. It's just kind of out there. We have a rough idea of what it is, but we have no idea how to break down the steps to get it, how to work toward it, when we should be working on certain things. So if you have the end in mind, we can start breaking down what needs to occur in terms of a calendar year to achieve it, whether it's a week-long goal, a month-long goal, a year-long goal, or a 10-year plan, right? So this helps you work backwards to know exactly what you need to do today. And I love this because it also allows you to understand if you're doing enough, right? A lot of us struggle with the idea of being enough as individuals. And of course, then in a day when it comes to tasks, we never really feel like we're doing enough. So we struggle with this existential being and also this doing. So if you're breaking it down and you actually know, okay, even if it is a 3-year goal, today, this is what needs to get done. This is the most contribution I can make toward that goal because things take time, it takes a process. You can feel really good about yourself that you've done everything you possibly can towards that goal, even though it's still 3 years away. Is this making sense so far?
Absolutely. It makes me think, for those that are listening and have worked with us in Breaking 90, I think they might see this kind of as, we pick our end goal and then we do our action steps. We list out some action steps. So that might sound a bit familiar to some of you that are listening.
Yeah, I love that. And I trust that you're going to jump in with questions too, because I know you're kind of the listener's voice as a part of this podcast.
Cool. For sure.
Okay, so number 3, have a variety of kinds of goals. This is one of my recommendations because I think a lot of people go in, and this is a great example of Breaking 90, right? People come in and they want specific health and fitness goals, and that makes sense because that's what you're hiring us for. But don't just limit your goals to one area of your life. We don't ever want to be lopsided. We just did a podcast show on balancing the body, right? You want to do these movements that are going to train your left to be able to do as much as your right can do. Well, this is true for life too. So if all I do is focus on my career goals, guess what is suffering? The other side of my life, right? So we do want to look at, your career matters, but your relationships matter too, within your career, but also in your personal life. And you matter outside of both of those things. So if you have goals in terms of how you relate to others, that's great. If you have goals in terms of what you want to achieve in power and status in your career, great. But you are something else aside from those two things. And so do you have personal, health, career, and relationship goals, right? And I want to say they don't all have to have equal amounts of time dedicated to them. They don't have to have all equal amounts of not just time commitment, but like time in your day, if that makes sense, or massive achievement. If you're going hard at your career this year, then maybe your personal goals is to make sure that you connect with one friend every 2 weeks. That's fantastic. That's going to help keep you balanced. And you put that on your list of goals to remind yourself not to go overboard with the career, to sprinkle in the other stuff that keeps your sanity intact, right? So it's not troubling yourself with all of these equally weighted goals, but to make sure we're creating a balance as best as we can.
This is something that you've mentioned, maybe just in a smaller setting in our coaching calls with some of our clients, and just something I've applied in my life in terms of, like you said, variety. I actually use like little headings when I write it out around this time of the year. And and I frequently check in, but you're right. I'll have the career, the relationship, the myself, which recently it was like meditation or time for myself. So because career might be something that's taking a bit more of the front seat, I only put 2 to 3 minutes a day of meditation. Like that doesn't require, like you said, a large time frame, but it's still a goal it's within, like, that I've listed. So I'm glad that you touched on that. It made me think about kind of how I do things.
I love that. Thank you for the example. And Alex and I were just doing a podcast too, where we were talking about, or pardon me, I have to give credit to him. He was saying that if you're waking up to an alarm to get ready for work, you're waking up on someone else's terms or for someone else, right? And so he was recommending, set the alarm 5 minutes before and wake up to an alarm for your terms, like you just did with your meditation, right? So even if it's just 5 minutes that you get to give to yourself in a day, it's a priority and you're making that happen. And I love that.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So number 4.
Yep. I'm ready.
Okay. I have so much to say about this one, but I'm going to do it succinctly so I don't bring an attitude into this. Make a visual for yourself. This is one of the recommendations that I will give. And I am only talking about a vision board visual, if you're someone who enjoys those, if you have actually done step 2, right? Where you're breaking things down into actionable steps. Because if all you're doing is creating a visual for the goal, you have not done yourself any favors. You haven't given yourself any plan. It's just this hope and dream that's up on a board. If you've done step 2, then making a visual for yourself is simply the reminder of what steps need to be taken and why you're taking them. Is that good?
Cool. Yeah,
okay.
Nailed it. So for myself, I don't enjoy, let's say, the cutting and drawing and making the vision board. But for those that are listening and they're like, yeah, Jerrika, me either. It could be as simple as, like, I take like a piece of paper, I'm writing that end goal on it because that's step 2. And then underneath, I might put my 2 action steps, 2 little bullet points, and stick it on my door every morning when I leave my room, because that is the end goal. And this is how I'm going to get it. And seeing that, it's like, okay, so when I see that, now it's reminding me of step 1. What do I want to feel today? Right? Okay. And then I'm going to step 2. How can I make this an actual step? And then I'm contributing in some way, shape, or form to that end goal. So I don't do the crazy cute picture, and I love it. If someone wants to make it for me, I'm all in, but I'm not making it. So all I need is that piece of paper. And I think that's what Kelly's saying. It's for those that want to, but there's still ways to do it, even if you don't want to do the full vision board.
Yeah, I love it. And you're an absolute beautiful student. Everything that you just summarized is exactly what I was trying to convey. And you did it in such a creative way that works for you, that I hope other people understand how they can draw their own parallels. Yeah, because, and the thing is like, we all resonate with different things, right? So if people do resonate with visual in terms of pictures, then great. Maybe you have more of an artistic, not flair, that's not the word I'm looking for, but an artistic kind of desire where you want to see a picture and it is inspiring. I resonate with words. Language is something that just lights me up. So to see words posted somewhere, that's enough for me, right? For some people, it might be their clothing hanging in the closet that they look at every day that they want to fit into. That's great. That's a visual, right? So how can you make your goal visual every single day so that you're reminded of what you're working towards? And as you mentioned, going right back up to number 1, why? What I want to feel.
Yeah, it makes me, when you were saying that the clothes hanging, I actually kind of circle back to my meditation goal that I've been having. For me, I actually leave my headphones right beside my water bottle in the morning, so that when I roll over, the first thing I see is my water bottle and then my headphones. And that's my reminder to do my meditation. Like I mentioned previously about, that's my goal right now. I get the meditation done and I'm starting that day for me. And I'm so glad that Alex had mentioned that in your podcast.
Yeah, I love that. Good for you. Okay, am I good to go to number 5?
You are, yeah.
All right. I love planning. I love calendars and agendas, all of it. So whatever your version of an agenda is, block off the time for those actionable steps. And I know this might sound really obvious where people are like, oh, didn't we do that in step number 2? Maybe you did, and that was very intuitive. That's awesome. I don't think a lot of people treat their goals like appointments. And it's one of the points that I want to make, right? So if I today have a massage with a massage therapist, I treat her as the professional she is. She is giving me a service, and I'm going to honor her time and her expertise, I should add. So when I'm looking at setting out a goal for myself, and I am the person that has to execute those steps, I need to treat myself the same way that I see that other professional, because I am offering myself the service, right? So I become a non-negotiable appointment in my agenda. So however you chunk that into your manageable pieces of time is great, but you make sure that it's something that doesn't get pushed because someone else had a need. Emergencies obviously are fine, but you don't keep pushing and procrastinating thinking, well, I'll get to it. It's fine. I'll help this person, or I'll just do one more thing around the house. You treat yourself like the professional that you are.
This is such an important reminder. I know myself and everyone listening is like, yeah, how many times a day do you have the intentions of saying, okay, I'm doing this for myself at this time, and then something else comes up and you are the first person to push yourself out, right? I mean, that's the first thing that goes out of your schedule. So that's the best reminder for everyone to hear.
Cool. Love it. May I offer a bonus?
Yes, you can offer as many bonuses as you want.
Which means I just made a list of 6. That is higher accountability. Whenever it's financially possible for you, higher accountability. And this can look very different depending on the kinds of goals that you've set out for yourself. This can be a coach of many different kinds. You can have a life coach, you can have a therapist, you can have a health coach, you can have a personal trainer, right? Like any kind of person that has an expertise that you can learn from is going to offer accountability if you are meeting with them on a regular basis and having some kind of tracking of progress. Then that can also look like a financial advisor, right? You can meet with a financial advisor twice a year to talk about your financial goals and the steps that you're going to take and when those payments are going to be made and how they're going to be made. And you can revisit it and say, is this still working for me financially? So we want to be accessing people's expertise, even if we're good at it. Even if we've been doing it for years, right? We can still learn from other people because we're constantly evolving and growing, as are the industries around us. And I will say too, just as a third measure of accountability, sometimes that is a person to execute steps with you, right? So if you have a gym buddy, though you're not hiring them, enroll someone for accountability that can help you and support you in that journey, because accountability is one of the biggest reasons that we don't meet our goals.
That's what I was hoping. I was hoping to hear that point.
Awesome. I love that.
I'm glad you added that one in.
Thank you. So that's my list. If people are getting started with goal setting, or maybe you've been doing it for years and this is just a different approach, great. And as always, reach out if you feel inspired and want to work with someone, even if you are good at goal setting. If you're struggling and you're like, these are great ideas, but I don't know how to implement them myself. Like I said, I could talk about this all day.
Exactly. And this is exactly why I wanted to bring this up, because so many people listening might be like, I do my SMART goals every year. Boom, like I'm so good at them. But it's like, okay, sure, you can hit your SMART goals, but this is a different perspective, because are you following through? Are you looking at it as an end goal? Are you just writing the SMART, filling it in and then throwing that paper away? Are you putting it somewhere you can see every day? So this is a different perspective that I was hoping to take, and I'm glad it went in this direction. Recently, Nat.
Yes, and some people crush their SMART goals and don't feel good about life. And they've skipped step number 1, right? You're so good at setting and executing goals, but you don't feel anything. And it's like meaningless. So all of these things are important, and reasons that you might reach out to someone to help you.
Awesome. So good. Thanks, Kelly. Do you have a tip that you're leading with us today?
Yes. So this is going back to the basics. I caught myself. So full disclosure and humility here, if you're in the same boat as me, we are lazy at standing. As human beings, we become very lazy standers. And so my challenge and tip for everyone is to be more mindful of the way that you stand. And I think this is especially important when we are close to things that we can lean on. And because we tend to jut our hips out, right? And we tend to tuck our butt under, and we lose all connection with the lower body and even our core. and it really affects our posture over time and our muscles. So can you stack the joints? Can you strengthen those legs and pull the energy from the ground up to become strong in your posture? If you're a yogi, mountain pose, right? Like, this is something that we need to take with us into old age if we are going to be healthy, independent beings as long as possible. So standing is my tip.
Amazing. I absolutely love it.
Awesome.
All right. So for those that listen today and have questions, comments, want to share this with a friend, please do. We'd love hearing from you. And we'd love to take this in even more directions. I'm sure Kelly can do a whole nother podcast on this. So please ask away. Don't hesitate to share with a friend, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.